years of one's life are given to us in order that we might exercise or exert righteous influence on as many people as possible. Hi, this is Barry Phillips with 10-Minute Torah, day number 1, the Torah portion, Vayaki. This is my Torah portion, the portion that I was born under, so it has a lot of significance for me. Let's go to chapter number 47 of the book of Bereshit or Genesis and read verses 28 and 20, the first line at least of verse 29. And Yaakov lived in the land of Mitzrayim 17 years. So the length of Yaakov's life was 147 years. Now notice this phrasing, and the time for Israel to die drew near. 17 years. Yaakov was 130 years old as he stood before Pharaoh and gave an account of his life. He died at 147, so there's 17 years interim there. He was able to live out these 17 years in a place called Goshen, something that was carved out of Mitzrayite culture. Mitzrayite culture in that time would have been exceedingly decadent, carnal, indulgent, sensuous, not necessarily a breeding ground for righteousness. But Yaakov was able to retain a set-apart status and favor and blessing upon himself and perhaps then, by extension, his family, as he would have exerted righteous influence upon those that were around him. Now, we call such a one, from the Hebrew language, a Sadiq. If you want to transliterate that word into the English language, we would spell it Tzaddik. Sadiq. When you see the Hebrew letters transliterated TZ, it's kind of like the sound of the Z in pizza. It's got a T in there, tza. So a Sadiq. A Sadiq is one who has an elevated ability of righteousness. Their walk is not just something that's ordinary or average. It's exceptional. It's above average. It's powerful. It's influencing. We read in the scriptures that the prayers of a righteous man avails much. The word there would be a Sadiq, one who has elevated levels of righteousness. When they pray and intercede for us, it has great impact. In the Jewish culture, there is the idea that one would seek out a Sadiq and ask him to bless them. Pray for me. So Yaakov then is the third in a line of successive Sadiqs. Abraham, Yitzhak or Isaac, and now Yaakov. Yaakov then is living in this exclusive area of Goshen, exercising his Sadiq status. The family is growing. They're multiplying. 17 years, the numerical value of 17 equals the gematria, the letter number values of the Hebrew word tov, T-O-V, we would spell it. And so perhaps then these are considered 17 good years. These are without trial, without hardship. Joseph is making sure that all the family's needs are taken care of. But we come to this 29th verse and this peculiar line that says it's not Yaakov that is about to die. The text, and I'll read it again, it says, Yaakov lived in the land, in verse 28, verse 29, and the time for Israel to die drew near. Let's recall this. Yaakov refers to the natural man who lives in the elements of the natural world, who has wrestled with natural opponents, and he has sought to prevail and to overcome. Israel, this higher calling that this man Yaakov has, refers to the spiritual man who wrestles in the spiritual realm with spiritual elements, and he is able to connect to a higher realm. It is Israel who walks in the prophetic anointing, that has visions and dreams and hears the voice of Yah. So Israel is about to die. Now, I would have expected to read it's Yaakov, the physical man, that is going to die physically. But we're reading about the spiritual man that is getting ready to pass away. How is that? Why is it stated that way? What is being possibly designated here or stated to us is that the era of the patriarchs is coming to a close. There's a shift that is taking place. And I say this at a time where in the body of Messiah at large, there are many elders and Siddiqs that have walked among us for an extended period of time that are now being called to step across the veil, that are leaving this life and entering the life beyond. And while we have their memory and while we may have their writings or their videos or their stories, we've lost the power of their personal, in-person influence. Now, why is that? Because there is a shift that is taking place. Before we would describe this shift in negative terms, let's understand this. The covenant that had been encapsulated within single individuals, within Abraham, passed on to Yitzhak, now passed on to Yaakov, that covenant encapsulation held in one person is now being multiplied in all of his sons, so that they each are going to walk now in this covenant and righteous influence, and they themselves step up into Siddiq status. One man getting ready to pass away, Israel stepping across the veil, is going to release the Siddiq status of 12. So it's not reduction, it's multiplication. Those that we have known and loved, that walked among us powerfully and exhibiting righteous influence, while they now may be physically gone, it's not that we should then suffer their loss as much as we should increase their influence, as they have influenced many. The many now need to step up and move into a higher level of righteousness. Unfortunately, what we have seen more often than not is that the following generation fails to come up to the level of the previous generation. I can see that happening many times. But my job for my upcoming generation, for my children and my grandchildren, for those in my congregation, for those of you on video with me, the purpose is to pick you up and push you higher than myself. I can teach you all that I know. I can share with you all that I can glean and learn myself. But the purpose is not to keep you somehow submerged beneath whatever level I estimate myself to be on, but to rather push you up, so that when my days are long gone, may it not be anytime soon, that there will be a righteous influence that will be left behind. Yeshua, the greatest Siddiq of all time, when he passed from this world to the world beyond, he did not leave a void so much as he had followers, taught ones, disciples that were gifted and empowered by the same Ruach HaKodesh to exert his righteous influence, but now in a multiplied number. So our calling today, step up to the plate. Step up a little higher. Push yourself a little higher, and then push someone that's up with you. Let's all grow in our Sadiq status. More tomorrow. To then, shalom.